of the manifold tasks of military government in Germany is to track down, identify, and prepare for the restoration to their rightful owners of the untold numbers of art collections and individual works of art which the Nazi leaders looted from Europe's museums and private galleries. Colonel William W. Dawson, the military governor of the region, answers a letter informing him of the discovery of such a collection in the area of his jurisdiction. The trail of information led to the county of Memmingen, the capital of which we now see. It is also the seat of the regional military governor. In his office in the 17th century rat house, we see Lieutenant Colonel Walters, the military governor of Memmingen, receiving the order from Colonel Dawson to proceed to the monastery in Buxheim to inspect the art collections stored there. Nestled in this little Bavarian village of Buxheim is the Carthusian monastery, which was founded in the 15th century. In this ancient and hallowed edifice are stored some of the art treasures that Alfred Rosenberg, one of the big Nazi leaders, looted from the whole of Europe. He had hoped that the immunity of the monastery would protect his loot from the ravages of war, and the order's vow of eternal silence from betraying his secrets. It is of interest to note that in 1937, the Nazis closed down the school that was established here by the Order of Salesians in the 19th century. The monastery itself has been famous for the artists and scientists who received their training here in the course of over 4 centuries. Colonel Walters is greeted by the abbot and is being conducted into the monastery. First, we see a small Persian carpet of the 18th century. Here in this hall, tapestries are stored, European, Oriental, and Far Eastern rugs of wool and silk. We've selected some of the best pieces in order to show you the finest ones of the collection. All these works of art are handmade, and their execution in some cases took years. Full of admiration, we look at the works, the reproduction of which was made possible by use of color film. A Gobelin of the Flemish artist Van Loo is especially wonderful in its tones and colors. Many other famous artists have made designs for the manufacture of cloths of fine textures. These are otherwise known to us only from oil paintings of masters such as the famous genre painter Teniers the Elder. We come to a part of the storage rooms in which some other artworks are kept, sculptures and furnitures of different styles and eras. Most of the artwork shown here originated in the Rococo period, in which the beautiful Baroque line turns to playful, easy, gay colors and rich gilding. A gilded chair of the 18th century with a hand-embroidered cover shows a charming reproduction of lions and other animals. This table is a beautiful inlaid work of precious woods and mother of pearl. One can see by the crown and the inscriptions that the table was in times past a princely present for a king. It is a French work of the 18th century. This century had a special liking for tapestries. Famous Gobelin shops were founded in Belgium and France. Motifs of mythology were preferred, like this representation of the goddess Diana, who is shown being beautified by her maidservants. We enter a room with beautiful works of art of the 16th century, the era of Renaissance, in which quiet harmonies were preferred. This bas-relief is a precious Italian work of a Florentine master of the 15th century. It shows a Madonna with child surrounded by angels and is carved from stucco. Particular attention is called to a richly carved Renaissance cupboard made of nut tree wood and dating back to the 16th century. In this room are examples of precious empire furniture of the Napoleonic era. Besides some artistic objects for use, sculptures of the different periods are to be seen. As here, a head of Christ of the 12th century. Unfortunately, in the course of nearly 800 years, the wood has decayed. This head of Christ is of northern France origin of the 14th century. Among the oldest pieces of the collection is this Assyric sculpture. It is made of sandstone and was done about 5,000 years ago. Decomposing gradually for years, the stone's preservation has been made possible by using certain chemicals. This sculpture is one of the most beautiful pieces of the Gothic collection from the 15th century. The wonderful soft colors have hardly changed in 6 centuries. This charming jewel box of the 16th century is a masterwork of a southern German goldsmith. Inside and outside, it has richly ornamental and figurative decorations. The material of which it is carved is a varicolored amber, a petrified form of resin. Thousands of years pass while the resin becomes hard stone. Amber, rare and beautiful, has been highly appreciated for hundreds of years. It is found only on the bottom of the sea, especially near the German Baltic Sea coast. Here we see a fine, flat relief, carved of nut tree wood. A French work of art, it was made in the 15th century and depicts a holy martyr. We come to the interesting and important studio of restoration. Here the damages of all articles of value, such as furniture, plastica, and pictures, have been repaired for the last 3 years. On this picture, the color is injured. It has the so-called blister illness. The missing color must be renewed. This is done by puttying the injured place and then retouching it with colors made from old formulas. The painting, in a splendid harmony of red and blue, is called La Bella, a masterpiece from the 16th century by Palma Vecchio. It is world-renowned. An intimate family scene by the French painter Fragonard from the 18th century. The mother, surrounded by 3 children, retires to a sunny garden corner. The wonderful charm is expressed in most delicate tints. The famous Flemish painter Metsu of the 17th century is presenting an artist in her studio here. This lovely family scene is the work of the French painter Hubert Robert. The picture is still in its original frame. Terborg, the creator of this magnificent painting, is said to have been the greatest master of detail painting. The picture shows a trumpeter calling to arms. Terborg's pictures are very rare and therefore extremely valuable. This painting is valued at least $60,000. Cesare Borgia, whom we see here, was a representative of the famous and at the same time infamous Florentine family of Borgia, which was at the height of fame in the Renaissance era. In the 19th century, this picture was thought to be done by Raphael, but most likely it was painted by Beccafumi. Here we have another painting by Fragonard, who depicts a very delicate scene with artistic audacity. This is a typical work of the Spanish artist Murillo. The beautiful picture of Saint Margaret stands out from a light background in most wonderful colors. In the 18th century, the daintiness of the pastel was dominating. This portrait of an actress by Boucher is one of its most beautiful creations. Here you see an interesting painting in the midst of restoration. Two pictures on one canvas. The one on the left, in yellowish tints, is counterfeit. And the one on the right, in reddish tints, is genuine. An artist who thought the genuine picture to be worthless overpainted the old canvas for the purpose of falsification. He imitated the highly paid Venetian painter Tintoretto. In fact, the falsification succeeded so well that some experts recognized the picture as a Tintoretto. Others, however, doubted the genuineness of it. By using X-rays, the original picture lying under it came to light. From the inscription on the paper the Venetian Doge is holding in his left hand, we can see the name of the artist. He is Passavi, who lived in Venice in the 16th century.
Lieutenant Ford, Arts and Monuments Office.
Glad to see you. I'm Colonel Walters. We have over 500 cases here, packed with various art objects. These have been carefully prepared and are ready to be returned to their rightful owners in France. Since many of these objects are extremely fragile, great care had to be taken in the packing to guard against damage. Every effort has been made by my officers and men to protect the rights of the French nation and to see that these priceless art treasures are preserved for posterity. As the train leaves the station, our picture ends. and the story of one of the many activities of Military Government Detachment G1E2 has been told.